just a week on from the month of May here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, we move over. We're between America and Canada. Welcome to Detroit and the Detroit Grand Prix here on the street circuit for the second year. We're all set to go then with what's going to be a very interesting opening practice session. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to you and all the action here as well. INDYCAR is in Detroit. Yes, we go again just 7 days after the 108th running of the Indy 500. And to take your commentary over, we're going to hand over to the INDYCAR Radio Network for the green light.
The INDYCAR Series. With live coverage of today's practice, this is the INDYCAR Radio Network.
Chevrolet Detroit Grand Prix presented by Lear. No rest for the weary. The dust has settled on the 108th running of the Indianapolis 500-mile race. Congratulations to two-time champion Joseph Newgarden. Goes back-to-back. Makes a bonsai move into turn number 3, goes to the high side of Pato O'Ward and holds on for his second consecutive win. Mark James, Davey Hamilton from the streets of Detroit. Again, the Chevrolet Detroit Grand Prix presented by Lear. And Davey, beautiful weather greeting us here as we get ready to resume the championship chase.
Yeah, here we go. We're back. The world's biggest, best race is over. And Joseph Newgarden, as you said, two-time champion, did a great job. I'll tell you, all day long, it was a fantastic race from start to finish. If you guys didn't hear us or see it, it's pretty amazing on the talent that's in this field, the competitiveness of these race cars and what the series has done. And obviously Roger with the Indianapolis Motor Speedway was outstanding. And I'll tell you, Pato O'Ward, I mean, he has a lot of fans. There's no question about it. That place went crazy when he passed Joseph. But on that last lap, to watch Joseph, I don't know if people realize how hard it is to go on the outside of turn 3 like he did to make that pass on Pato O'Ward. But I'll tell you what, he did a great job. I mean, that was a risky move by, it could have ended up like Alan Emo back in the day.
Well, you go back to what he did in Texas, a year or so ago, and I mean, he's kind of following in the footsteps of Sam Hornish Jr. in terms of knowing how to make the high side work to win races on ovals.
No, you know what? You have to compare him to Sam coming through Defiance the other day. I got to thinking about, Sam Hornish just shows up to our series a little bit different. It just was magic, right? I mean, the kid was just so good right off the bat and just continued to hammer. Wins Indy 500, does a little NASCAR, and then I don't hear him. I don't see him, don't hear of him hardly anymore. But we know he lives in Defiance, Ohio, and every time I go through there, I think of what a great racer he was. And but it was a great day and a lot of fun.
Lots of good stories. We'll spend plenty of time talking about those over the next couple of days, but the focus is on the here and now in this race, a 9-turn, 1.7-mile street circuit, a very unique track that incorporates some of the city's most iconic attractions, and moved here after several years on Belle Isle, Davey, and we are just outside to driver's right on the right-hand side of this unique distinction of having a split pit lane.
Right.
And it actually ended up working out pretty well last year, but the thing that I think is most challenging about this is not so much the split lane, but it's the fact that, there's a little short straightaway that leads you into turn number 1, and when you're exiting the pit, you're coming right out into the traffic right away.
Yeah, you want to do it. It's a lot of driver take care of the other driver because, as you said, the split pit, it narrows down rapidly into one lane, but then once you get to that one lane, it's really narrow going into turn 1 with cars up to speed on the racetrack. So you have to take care of each other for sure. You may benefit from it, you may lose from it, but at the end of the day, you just have to give and take a little bit. And this, by the way, Mark, this pit lane they built here is permanent. I mean, they did a lot of work to make this pit lane the way it is. We got to remember we're downtown Detroit, a lot of work effort. We didn't know what to think about the split pit, but I think it's pretty cool now that they've done it.
Well, the chairman of this event, Bud Dinker, said when they were making the move and laying this all out, he said this was the only way we could do a pit lane if we were going to move this event downtown. I mean, there was no other option than to do this. Yeah. There's a unique perspective to it, and the drivers, he said, obviously everybody, the team principal scratching their head over how it was going to work, but he gave a lot of credit to the drivers last year because he thought they did a great job of handling the change.
They did do a great job, and I'll tell you what, just being creative enough to do this, to think of this split lane like they've done, and how it would work, and who has the advantage and who doesn't, and how they're going to pit their. Oh, that's another thing. They pick their pit stalls from the how they qualified the race previous. So, you know, having a split pit, who gets inside, who gets outside, where that all goes, a lot of work goes into it.
The Grand Prix, the folks have also repaved the apex at turn number 3, and you noticed in the two-seater some other improvements made here.
Yeah, so it seems like the turn 3 is definitely smoother, and even the exit of turn 3. It seems like the front straightaway, they've done something to make it a little bit better, a little smoother. And then they opened up turn 4. A slight bit, especially on entry and exit, just to help through there. I think at the end of the day, there's one really good passing zone, and that's going down that long back straightaway into turn 3. There is other passing zones, but they're not easy ones, and they're a bit risky. And the other best one probably is going off final turn 9 into turn 1 and down that low front straightaway.
So this history is a long one here. It began on the streets of Detroit as a Formula One event in 1982. It featured Formula One each year from 82 to 88. In 89, it transitioned from F1 to INDYCAR on the Detroit streets and ran downtown from 89 to 91. Then moved from downtown to Belle Isle beginning in 92. It was held annually on Belle Isle until 2001, then left Detroit after that season, and then it came back in 2007 and was there for a number of years, some $13 million in improvements, and then the decision was made to return it to its roots back in downtown Detroit.
Yeah, how about what they've been able to do to Belle Isle, which when they told me it was moving from Belle Isle to downtown Detroit, I didn't know what to think because they've improved that island so much. I remember going there the first time. The rains came. We were pitting on dirt and grass. We had to go buy plywood and put down and visqueen all over everything. It was pretty crazy. And what this city, what Roger and his people have done to make that island really just first-class island, really clean it up a lot, and then say, okay, we got that done. We're coming downtown, and just the improvements they made here and the things that they try to. This is not easy. We're downtown Detroit. I mean, it's not an easy task.
But the corporate community has embraced it. I mean, over 78 some odd suites, Davey. I think they only had like 30 on Belle Isle,
like
more than
double. Yeah.
Over 90 corporate sponsors have weighed in to support this event. Think about that. 90 corporate sponsors. This is a free pre-day. But in fact, there are a lot of things that people can see free all throughout the course of the weekend. And not everybody that's going to watch from some of the areas will have, know, they've been able to get in free of charge.
Well, one thing for sure that I haven't even been able to walk around inside this event, even though it's 1.7 miles, there's a lot of ground to cover. And in the main midway, every professional team has an appearance here at this race, which I think is pretty cool. From football, basketball, hockey, everybody has things set up. It's activation for people to come and play and do with every professional team in Detroit.
Well, lots of news to talk about in terms of a couple of driver changes. A name we're all familiar with is back. Tristan Vautier, the Frenchman, returns to the 51 car. He last raced for the team in 2017 as a substitute driver for Sebastian Bourdais at Texas. His last time racing in Detroit for Dale Coyne came in 2015, where he finished fourth. 31 career IndyCar starts, including 12 with Dale Coyne Racing. Recently, he's been doing some sports car racing in both the IMSA Sports Car Championship and the World Endurance Championship, as well as European Le Mans Series. He's won 12 hours of Sebring, podium for both 24 hours of Daytona and the 12 hours of Sebring, so he's not been sitting around doing nothing.
No, he's been active, and I always keep an eye on Tristan. Great guy, by the way, super nice. A lot of talent there. Actually drove for Sam and I in IndyCar when we had that team together. It was always good to have him part of our team, and really respect him a lot. I think it's great. I was really surprised to see his name back in IndyCar, to be honest with you. It's been a long time. So for people, I mean, this is a completely different car with the aero screen, so many different things about the way the car drives, handles, feels. So it's going to be a big weekend for him. A lot to learn in a short amount of time. And by the way, as far as I'm concerned, he definitely came to the toughest course on the entire schedule. If I had to pick the one that I probably wouldn't go to because it's so challenging as a part-time driver, it'd probably be this one.
Yeah, that sports car experience going to serve him well. At least that's the plan, I think, for Dale Coyne. Another notable change, four-time Indy 500 winner Helio Castroneves will drive the 66 AutoNation Sirius XM Honda this weekend in Detroit, as well as next weekend at Road America, replacing Tom Blomqvist. Blomqvist is still with the team, but earlier today, our Michael Young caught up with Helio Castroneves about this change.
Weekend? Oh, wait, no, it's Helio Castroneves. Now, here we are. What the announcement made earlier in the week, you're going to be driving in the Detroit Grand Prix this weekend. How did this come about?
I know. Obviously, first of all, Mike and I and Jim, we all talk, even Tom, we all talk about it. It was an unfortunate situation where it happened to him the first lap. And as of right now, we are out of the leader circle money. And the truth is that we need to collect some points. Coming to a place in Detroit that he never been, so it would be a little bit hard. So we decided, okay, why don't I'm back in, I've been here before, and let's take a chance and collect some points. And that's the whole reason. And we go at a time. So Tom agree, everybody agree, and Tom's still here. He's not going anywhere.
Is it easier taking the co-owner hat off, seeing that you just drove for an entire month of May?
Yeah, definitely helps being in the car whole month of May, and now coming straight after May definitely helps. So the change for that, it's I don't need to worry about that.
Look forward to seeing you out there. Best of luck.
Me too.
Helio Castroneves.
And to that end, Davey, right now that car, the 66 car, sits 24th in points. It is behind the 18 of Dale Coyne Racing, and it is also behind the 30 of Ray Hall Letterman Lanigan Racing, and behind the 78 machine of Hukos Hollinger, and believe it or not, the 28 machine of Andretti Goebel. That's Marcus Ericsson, not too far in front of him.
Yeah, how about that? How Marcus, what a tough year he's had going over that Andretti camp. Former 500 winner 2 years ago, runs second in last year, and this year gets 33rd, and just things didn't go his way. But saying that is, yes, Helio just needs to get points right now, and I think that as disappointing that Tom has to be, and Phil, I get, it's just not, I'm sure inside he doesn't feel that good about it, but the confidence he has to have is that team is behind him. They want to give him some more opportunities, some more chance, get laps over this belt. It's like I just said, though, the most difficult course on the circuit on the entire schedule, I think, is this one, and you just need to get out of this unscathed, and we'll see how Helio can do. You never know. Helio something may happen on the first lap and he's out. I mean, it's not a fix-all. You could put the world champion in there and not get results either.
Interesting to note that the next couple of races is going to give you an idea just the variety of disciplines that one has to be successful at. I mean, you got the super speedway, the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and then you come to this place, which is narrow and it's bumpy, and it's very unforgiving and relatively short at just 1.6 miles in length. And then from here you go to a 4-mile course at Road America.
Yeah, how about that?
With all the elevation changes.
The shortest course we run on the entire series to the largest one that we run on in the series. So, and yeah, from bumpy and walls on both sides to a permanent street course, road course. So it's going to be interesting this weekend. It always is coming, like you say, biggest thing coming from a 2.5 mile oval and the greatest race in the world to the downtown streets of Detroit.
Plenty of sunshine, blue skies, the order of the day. Let's get more on the specifics of the conditions by checking in with Michael Young.
Yeah, beautiful day here on the streets of Detroit. 75 degrees, our ambient temperature, track temperature 116 right now, and it is just packed here in the grandstands. A free day for grandstands 1 and 9, but as you look around the city of Detroit, all of the parking garages, people littered at the top of them, peeking over, trying to get a glimpse of this NTT IndyCar Series. Even the suites beginning to fill, and as you walk the course, there are fans everywhere. It's a fantastic event, and if you've never been, obviously we've only done one here on the streets of Detroit since our return, but it is a wonderful race. Bud Denker and everybody at Penske Entertainment did a fantastic job putting this together. The sights, the sounds, it's captured all here on the streets of Detroit, and a beautiful day to watch some race cars go around this 1.7 mile circuit.
Yeah, thank you, Michael Young. Look forward to having you with us throughout the course of the weekend. Scott McLaughlin jumps to P1 early on in the session. McLaughlin, Lundgaard, Rasmussen, Ericsson, and then Newgarden in the top 5. VK, Simpson, Grosjean, Rossi, and Ferrucci through 10th. And Rob Herta, Porcher, Will Power, then Lundqvist, Fittipaldi, Vautier is out turning laps already. I would imagine he's going to turn a lot of them just to get himself acclimated with that car. The difference, obviously, between he and Helio is that I know that there's nothing similar about the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, but, as we talked to Helio, you heard that a few moments ago with Michael Young, huge for him, I think, just from a rhythm standpoint to have been in the car for the month of May.
Yeah, just, you know what, and that helps so much. I know it's a completely different environment, different style racing, but just being in that car and having that confidence that you just finished, the biggest race in the world. You've been in there for weeks practicing and pit stopping and doing the things that you need to do. So that helped a lot. I'm sure that was part of the decision too. I don't know if Elio would have thrown himself to the wolves per se, being out of the car for half the season, then just jumping into this first one.
Firestone tire allotment, of course, the usual 6 sets of primaries, 4 set of alternates for the weekend. Of course, they have to use 1 set of primaries and 1 new set of alternate tires at each race. 1 additional set is available for the weekend. For the first session, the team's fielding a rookie driver. Curious as to whether or not Vautier is going to get that extra set.
I think they do that.
Yeah,
means that he's not a rookie, but he has been for a long time. More than likely, they're really fair about that. And I don't think any driver in the series would say, no, don't give him. He's not per se a true rookie. But yeah, let him go out and get. But the better everybody is, the better everybody's going to race.
And again, this 45-minute session, and there's a little over an hour window in totality, because if heaven forbid we should get a red flag, that's going to stop the clock, so they get the full 45-minute complement. And we see one of the Juncos Holliger cars.
Yeah,
I believe that was Scott McLaughlin.
I think McLaughlin and Grosjean. I mean, McLaughlin found a passing zone in turn 4. I don't think Grosjean was up to speed, but boy, he stuck it down in there, and not a lot of room, but he made it happen. And right now, McLaughlin finds himself 3rd on the charts, but he's being really aggressive right now. I think he's behind Vautier actually right now, going down this long straightaway, going down in turn 3.
Christian Lundgaard is vaulted to P1. Marcus Ericsson is there. McLaughlin, VK, Pillow, the top 5. Herta, Newgarden, Rosenquist, Power, and Rossi. Michael Young.
Once they figured out last year, one of the things that they have changed for this 2024 campaign is our victory podium. Last year, it was behind the GM building, actually on the river, so all the drivers, the teams, everybody had to go about a quarter of a mile, a little more than that, to celebrate. This year, there's a walkover bridge at the exit of pit lane, and that walkover bridge, they've incorporated a stage, and they have built victory podium on that. There's a little gate that they have put there with the great facade of the Detroit Grand Prix behind it, so all of the racing series, when they go to victory podium, will be above the exit of the pit lane, and it is a fantastic opportunity for fans to not only see the drivers, just a great look too, a high above, a very European type of look, and that's something new for 2024 they put together.
Yeah, that's an interesting look. We noticed that right away when we got here. Got the chance to make a couple of trips across that pedestrian bridge that calls that home. And Davey, back to talking about this course, there are a few noticeable elevation changes here. There are some transition areas where the car can get light on you, but much like most street circuits, the thing that's challenging about this one is you go from concrete to asphalt, back to concrete, back to asphalt, and that paint sometimes can cause some issues too if it doesn't grip up like the rest of the surface.
Yeah, you're exactly right. The grip level between these different surfaces around this course is pretty drastic and pretty different, and that is one thing that these drivers are going to have to get used to. Rubber is going to get down. It's going to get a little bit better as the weekend goes, but they actually, sports car this morning, Indy next this afternoon, there's been some rubber down on the racetrack to help them out a little bit, and I got a matter of fact, the timeline I think is going to be right at turn 8, if I'm not mistaken, where they're able to cross that timeline and still come in the pit. So I'm going to keep an eye on that area as well.
And like Mid-Ohio, because of the fact that the straightaway, quote-unquote straightaway, is so short, they will finish the race there, but will actually start between 2 and 3 on one of the longest stretches of race course that they'll run on all year long.
Yeah, which I don't know if that's good or bad for incidents down into turn 3, I'll be honest with you. And Mid-Ohio has the same situation, because now you gather all the cars going in the fastest part of the race course into the slowest part of the race course of both those areas, and so it created some havoc last year. Actually, IndyCars made it through there pretty good. Indy Next really struggled in their first race, did good in their second one. They've all been here. We've been here a year now. We know what to expect.
I think the issue with coming off of the final turn, there just would not be, I don't think, enough racetrack coming off of that turn number 9, the right-hander. I just don't know that there is enough racetrack to get the full field formation there.
No, they're not.
Yeah, so I think the reason you get them up,
that's why.
They'll bunch them up there, and they'll want them double file through turn number 2. And then when they come off of turn number 2, they'll get about 3/4 of the way up and see the green flag.
And that is a long straightaway. I mean, no surprises on how. I mean, it's the longest one that we have.
3,696 feet.
And it has to compare to what we had at Sao Paulo years ago. Just really long. I mean, it's just when you think, okay, it's got to be Indy, and you're halfway down it, and so it's a vast, long straightaway that these drivers are going to take advantage of a huge passing zone. We've seen them going 4, sometimes 5 wide last year going into that corner, and I expect to see the same this year.
Alex Palou has gone to P1. Colton Herta, second fastest. Erickson, Rahal, McLaughlin. A month full of promise for Colton Herta turned disastrous in the Indy 500. Yeah. And as far as Marcus Erickson, my guess is for all of the spoils that go with being a winner that he enjoyed a couple of years ago, this was probably one of the worst months he's ever had at any race.
Yeah, no question about it. Things didn't go his way. Switched teams, has a lot of hope in Andretti. Thought, man, we have the opportunity to run up front, maybe win another race. Just didn't work out for him. But I'll tell you right now who I'm really impressed with, right behind Erickson in that 4th position, is Canapino.
Yeah.
Canapino, he is in that 5th position, and Canapino's done a great job with that team, and he just continues to get faster and faster. And by the way, majority of the time, I have to say, he's faster than his teammate Grosjean, who finds himself in 16th. He's really kind of outbeen performing Grosjean, which I'm a little bit surprised.
Well, and a couple of other guys that carrying some momentum off the month of May. The teammates running 9th and 10th. A really good month all in all for Rinus VeeKay, and Christian Rasmussen was pretty impressive in the 500.
Pretty impressive, and I'll just be straight up, right, wrong, or different. I really feel Christian should have been Rookie of the Year in the Indy 500. He came from 22nd, I think. Had a great finish in the top 10, but the moves that he was making on that racetrack were outstanding. He really did a good job, and though I'm sure his heart's broken a little bit that he didn't get Rookie of the Year, because he was the highest finisher rookie by quite a ways.
Maybe, and I saw there was quite a debate about this on social media, and I would say that maybe moving forward, there needs to be perhaps a performance award.
Yeah,
and perhaps another award, because that is all-encompassing. And there is no question, Davey, no one can deny that Kyle Larson, and I know he was a rookie in name only, but he was still a rookie. But the eyeballs that he brought to the month of May, and the way he conducted himself, and other than a pit road speeding penalty, it wouldn't have been a question.
Yeah,
no, it wouldn't have been a question. Yeah. I think it would, but also that shouldn't detract from what was an incredible performance.
Yeah, well, Kyle Larson, let me tell you, Kyle, we came from the same kind of racing. I know Kyle since was a young kid and watched him come up. And if you ask Kyle...
You told us about him before any of us had ever heard of him.
And if you ask Kyle who should have got Rookie of the Year, you know what he would tell you? Not me.
Yeah.
He said that he had a miserable day. He goes, I sped in the pits. I missed a restart. I had a horrible day. Now I've been in a race. I know what I need more out of this car. I know how I need to pass. He was disappointed because his big weekend, he goes, so many people spent so much money, 2 years in the making, time and effort. He feels he let him down. He didn't let anybody down. And as you said, did he bring eyes? Absolutely, he brought eyes. And is he an absolutely fantastic racer? Without a doubt, one of the best ever. One of the best ever, at least in his era. And you can put him in any car at any time, and he's going to win. But in the day, for a race that you have to pick, you can't pick on that. You have to pick on performance of that race, and that was Rookie of that race. And him himself said that he had a tough day. He didn't do what he felt. He let a lot of people down. Now, he still did a fantastic job. He sped in the pits. That's what it cost him, as you said, or he was going to have a really good finish. But that's part of it.
Yeah, one thing's for sure. I mean, Christian Rasmussen, I think, made a lot of people set up and take notice.
Yeah.
And those who had not maybe followed the Indy Next Series, I think this is a kid that's going to be around the series for a long time.
Well, he showed us a lot. He's been pretty quiet, which sometimes we talk about this, Mark. A lot of times rookies come over here and we don't talk a lot about them. That's not always bad because they're just kind of doing their thing.
Yep.
They're making sure that they're not in accidents. They're not making foolish moves. They're finishing races, and we're not maybe paying attention because they're not in the top 10, but they're doing good. And I'll tell you right now, back to the same thing. From a cockpit standpoint, seeing what Rasmussen did at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and some of those moves was outright impressive.
Yeah, for sure.
Outright
That is for sure. But we saw his oval prowess last year at Indy Next, that's for sure. And who knows, he may be the next Joseph Newgarden when it comes to
that's right.
being hard to beat on ovals for sure. But again, he's showing pretty good pace here off the box. He's worked his way up to 14th fastest, and there's 22 minutes remaining in this session. It's Herta, Palou, McLaughlin, Armstrong, and Rosenquist the top 5. Erickson, Award, Ray Hall, Dixon, and Canapino the top 10. Then Lundgaard, then Power, then VK, then Porcher, Teo Porcher back in the 6th machine this week for Myers-Shank. Then 15th is Rasmussen, 16th Newgarden, 17th Rossi, 18th is Castro-Neves, 19th Fittipaldi, 20th is Simpson, Harvey is 21st, Grosjean is 22nd, Lundquist is 23rd, Ferrucci is 24th, Vautier is 25th, and Stingray Robb is currently 25th. And again, a couple of subs this weekend. Tristan Vautier and Elio Castro-Neves will be in the cars for Dale Coyne and Myers-Shank Racing, respectively. Busy day tomorrow. Join us bright and early, 8 o'clock Eastern, for Indy Next practice session number 2. And then the second IndyCar practice session will join you 9:15 Eastern time, and then at 11:20 we'll qualify for Sunday's Indy Next race, and then at 12:15 we'll have complete coverage of qualifying and the Firestone Fast 6 for the NTT IndyCar Series. Then Sunday, final warm-up session at 9:30, and then at 10:15 the Indy Next race, flag-to-flag coverage of that, and then join us at 12 noon for the pre-race festivities for the Chevrolet Detroit Grand Prix presented by Lear. And then we're off to Road America next weekend, Davey. I ran into a couple of crew guys at our hotel today, riding the elevator down with them, and I said, I know I'm a little tired. You guys got to be a lot tired.
Yeah.
I think I figured up between my other job and this, I think I've had 3 days in the last 38 days off.
Yeah, no.
And I'm not working nearly as hard as those crew guys.
No, that's right. And I know, trust me, the month of May for most all of us is every single day, and I vouch for that with you. I'm with you.
And one of those guys that's been very busy is Barry Wanzer, Michael Young.
We were just talking about days off, Barry. Have you had any days off in the last month or so?
We had a rain day, but we still had to start at the track. But yeah, I mean, they're few and far between, but we know that's part of the schedule. Having the back-to-back races is what keeps us going, and it's challenging, but we always seem to get through it.
It's always the month of May, and even though you're working every day, the fact that you pull underneath the tunnel to go to that track, it makes it worthwhile.
Yeah, absolutely. Anytime you can spend some days at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, it's pretty special. Whether we're there testing or racing, the Grand Prix, or even practicing for the 500, it's special days there for sure. But there's still only one team that leaves there happy, so we got to wait another year to go back and try to leave there happy. So
your driver has had an amazing season thus far, has the points lead. Of course, Thermal, the Grand Prix at Indianapolis, but this is the point last year where you guys turned the corner and just were lights out for the remainder of the season. Have you reflected on that? What changed for you? What happened to make that success come to fruition the latter part of last year?
We really just, what we did last year is what we plan on doing this year is, focus on our goals, and that's finishing as high as possible in every race. If we qualify up front, race up front, good things will happen. And when good things happen, then we score a lot of points and, hopefully have the championship at the end of the year.
Whose mindset? Did you teach Alex Palou that? Was that your thing? Did you discuss that? How did that mentality, because they're racers at the end of the day, how did that come to be?
It's a culmination of a lot of experience on the team. Not just for myself, but from Julian Robertson as race engineer, to Ricky Davis as crew chief, and Dario as a team advisor. So we have a lot of experience, and as well as the other drivers. Obviously Scott Dixon provides a lot of insight to what it takes to win championships, and Alex has been a sponge with that, and he's been doing everything we asked him to do, and he's getting better every day.
This is where it really all kicked off. Winner here. You guys have the primo spot. You're on the left side of the exit of pit lane at pit out, so the prime spot. Does he like this pit lane? You guys were back a little bit. You were on the left side last year, but back a couple of pit boxes. How does this add to the challenge of getting off the pit lane? Is there any?
We didn't have any challenge last year, but certainly the pit lane can create a challenge that you could see in the race. We just haven't had that issue yet, but it's very wide. No matter what, every pit lane, it does narrow down to some funnel. just here, it's going to just be a little more challenging. So
I'll let you get back to it. I know you're busy. Thank you.
thanks, Mike.
That's Barry Wands, a race strategist for Alex Palou.
Yeah, good stuff. A couple of runoffs. Renus VK got off of the runoff. He was able to get it going. It looks like Scott McLaughlin Davey is having a bit tougher time of getting his car spun around, getting back out on the course.
Yeah, it's, he went to the top of the charts right off. It looked like he was really aggressive, but he's fallen down to that third spot, which isn't bad. We say, hey, I'm third, but how about this? With Colton Hurd is 3/4 of a second quicker than you are in that P1 spot. Good lap by Colton. McLaughlin, Armstrong. Hey, we talked about Armstrong too. Another kid that been pretty quiet, but he just keeps finding himself towards the top of this heap, but continues to, show and have impressive runs.
Continuing to recap and reassess the Indy 500. Frustrated Pato Award, Davey, after the Indy 500, and they had it right there in the palm of his hand. And I think we all knew that first place was not the place to be going into turn 3 on the last lap.
Well, another thing is everybody said, well, why did Pato wait one more lap to pass him? It's not that easy, Mark. When you're looking from your TV screen and then you're looking at that little vision hole in your helmet, and what's happening out there at 220 plus miles an hour, it's very hard.
But I mean, if a caution comes out,
yeah, right.
Think, when you have the chance,
you gotta go. You gotta go. No, there's a lot of, we were in that situation ourselves at some races that are like little 500. We found ourselves in a situation like that. I mean, you just can't think about it. You gotta go. You gotta go.
He's now with Harry Hartz, Ted Horn, and Roberto Guerrero as the only drivers with 4 finishes of 6th or better in their first 500 starts to not get a win.
How about that for impressive? I mean, the confidence that he has of going to win that race, he knows he's going to. Well, let me step back. Let's go about halfway through that race.
Yeah.
You see some in-car with that kid in turn 2. That thing was completely sideways. Super fast hands. Gathered that car up, and by the way, didn't even slow down. I mean, he just kept going for it, kept making changes, and kept making that car better. It looked like out of the 4 Aero McLaren cars, his was the 4th best at one point. Not that good, but then at the end of the day, when it came down to that checker flag, he was challenging for the win with Newgarden, and all the stats that we've seen here lately with him just going off right now, actually. Newgarden and him, there's something right now. They've been battling with each other more than we even thought. I mean, I didn't until people brought it up and seen all these first and seconds that they have. But man, that kid's on fire. No
Obviously, it still stings, but he was very matter of fact when Nick Yeoman caught up with him earlier today.
Well, the runner-up in the Indianapolis 500 joins us here in Detroit. That is Pato Award. Pato, I think 300,000 plus people, as well as all the folks that were listening on radio and watching on TV, sympathize for you in that moment. I want to know, in the couple days afterwards, what was it like when the crushingness went away and maybe it just kind of nags at you?
I mean, you get to relive it 24 hours after at the banquet. And then, I mean, really, hey, happy birthday. Thanks, man. But, it's important not to overlook what we did during the race because, for more than 60, 70% of the race, we weren't even in the talks of being in the freaking top 10. So, I have to say the strategy that the team pulled out was a fantastic one and ultimately gave me that opportunity to really extract what I could out of the car in a bit of a more clean air kind of thing, and just we pulled out a really strong overcut, made our way to the front, and then from there it was just all about positioning yourself. In the last pit stop we kind of fell back a bit, which that's ultimately what made it. That is what ultimately made my feelings, I'd say, probably heavier than just staying as one of the 2 lead cars. Obviously it made the show more interesting, but just what I had to do in order to put that car and take that car to the leading 2 cars. I mean, just so much risk was taken there, and then for it to, I left it all out there. I did absolutely everything in my power to calculate it and to really do a smart race. But I enjoyed it. I really do. There probably hasn't been a month of May where I haven't enjoyed it so much, and that's what it's about.
You talk about taking those risks, and obviously we understand in the last 5 laps that you're going to take those risks, but there were onboard shots of you catching that car all day long. Walk us through, what it was like driving that car, because I know you were very honest leading up to the race that maybe you didn't feel like you had the car and that you guys certainly had to make those strides.
Yeah, I put that car in certain areas where I didn't know if it was going to come out the other end. And that's what ultimately makes it so emotional in the end, because you know that it just wasn't easy. It wasn't easy just to open the doors for us to have an opportunity to win that race. And yeah, I guess that's what ultimately kind of unbottled the can of emotions that kind of has been the story of my Indy 500 the last 3 years. And it's just they keep getting heavier and heavier every year. So yeah, at that point it was obviously just there was a lot of emotion going through me, and I'm pretty sure I wasn't the only one. But you know, I'm the one that ultimately had to really, you know, kind of take it there at the end, and it was yeah, not that it asked a lot from me, but it was definitely, I would say, one of the best races I've ever done in my life, just because of what it took for me to get it there.
Final thing, you're obviously one of the most popular drivers in the sport. You have that type of fan support everywhere we go. But this past week, after coming so close, what kind of response have you got from fans that you've had for a long time, and maybe new ones? Amazing.
And honestly, they made me feel like I won this race when I clearly didn't, and was 2 corners short. But that's very special. That's obviously something that you can't buy, and you know, at the end of the day, all I try and do is just give them a good show. I want everybody to have had a fantastic experience, which I think they really did, because the race was unbelievable from what everybody has told me, and just knowing that if that day does come for me, I know it will be so special.
And Davey, 11 minutes remaining in this session. Herta, McLaughlin, Palou, Power award the top 5. The guys may walk away from Detroit happy about a runner-up finish. Road America, Iowa, Gateway, on and on. Nobody ever walks away from that race happy with second place.
It's painful knowing, because as he just mentioned, you don't know if you ever are going to have another opportunity.
Ask Marco Andretti.
That's right. He felt it, right?
06.
Yeah, leading it going into turn 3 on that, and leading it in turn 4,
right,
and then losing on the front straightaway.
That's right.
I mean, so and then never had the opportunity to win again. So now he's had great finish there. His record's really good, but you just don't know. You don't know if that opportunity is going to come again to win that big race.
Well, back to the, as we mentioned, the chase for the championship. Alex Palou is now your leader with 183 points, and he's trailed by 20 points by Scott Dixon. Will Power has 157 points. Pato Award and Colton Herta are tied for the 4th position, and Colton went into the month of May with a points lead.
He went with the points lead. Didn't have a great, I mean, you know what? And in the final practice on Monday, after qualifying, and then the carb day practice, I tell you, he looked really good. He looked strong, looked like he could pass at will. I thought, man, he is going to be a contender. And he was somewhat of a contender, but then the car got out from underneath of him. He was able to come back out and race for points, which he did, to keep him in that top 4. But he was on fire. He was a contender until the car just stepped out.
And don't look now, Davey, but a couple of guys who had some issues with some penalties earlier this year are now 6th and 7th, and very much have thrown themselves back into the discussion. And that's Scott McLaughlin, Joseph Newgarden, who are 6th and 7th in points.
Yeah, pretty amazing, isn't that? I mean, that they've started dead last and basically got a couple races taken away, and now they're back in the game with things. And Will Power. Well, let's talk about him. Guess where he's at? P2. And how many times has he been P2 in practice, qualifying, race? I mean, this year just been kind of a
P2 year for him.
Yeah, it really has been, and that's what he finds. He's the closest one to Colton Herta right now, but his teammate McLaughlin's back up to 3rd. Then Palou, you got an Andretti car, 2 Penske cars, and then you have a Chip Ganassi car and an Arrow McLaren all in the top 5.
So it might be an issue with the car of Kyle Kirkwood, Davey. He's currently 27th fastest, and he's only turned 4 laps in the session.
Yeah, pretty interesting right there on what is going on with Kyle Kirkwood. He went into the runoff area right off the bat. He has not ran but 4 laps at this point, finds himself 27th. Baudier's 19 laps in, finds himself in P26. Expect that. Jack Harvey, his teammate, just barely in front of him. So the coin car is not finding speed yet at 25th and 26th right now. But a good lap. How about, we talked about Grosjean. He's in 16th right now, but Canapino in that 9th spot, still pretty impressive. I just continue to say that team, seems they're getting better and better, but Canapino himself is getting better and better.
Yeah, and so we mentioned that top 5. We'll tell you 6th fastest is Armstrong, then Rosenqvist, Lundgaard, Canapino, and Dixon the top 10. Ericsson, Rahal, Rossi, VK, and Stingray Robb through 15th. Grosjean, Lundqvist, Castroneves, Porcher, Rasmussen through 20th. Newgarden, Ferrucci, Simpson, Fittipaldi, Harvey, Vautier, and Kyle Kirkwood. Those are the 27 cars that are entered this weekend. So some interesting names. Santino Ferrucci back in 22nd. Newgarden back in 21st. Christian Rasmussen has fallen to 20th. Elio Castroneves in the 18th position. But again, we're not sure what it is they're working on, which might cause them to be back a little further in timing of scoring.
Yeah. Well, another impressive. Let's go back to Stingray Robb. You know, he's found himself at the bottom of the charts most all season. He has a great run, leads third most laps at the Indianapolis 500, and now 15th. Pretty good, you know, right off the bat. I mean, he's showing some promise and has a little bit of little oomph in his step right now.
Let's go to Michael Young.
With Ray Gosselin, the Vice President of Motorsports for Chevrolet. I know we're standing underneath the tower, the GM tower, the shadow draping over us right now to go from the greatest spectacle in racing to running here. This is an awful good couple of weeks for Chevrolet.
It is a big couple of weeks for Chevrolet, right? This is treated just as big as the Indy 500 is, so a lot of pressure on us to perform this weekend for sure.
When you worked as a race strategist and then moving over to this role, was there anything when you were with Ryan Hunter-Reay when he got his Indianapolis 500 win, is there anything that you can transition to the role you play now with Chevrolet?
Yeah, for sure, right? And I think that's, you know, part of what people are looking for, right? Is what observations can you make from the end user perspective that can help us as Chevrolet do a better job in delivering a better engine to all the teams.
Big changes from last year. We heard Joseph talk about it at the start of the season, that Chevrolet really answered the call on the streets of St. Petersburg, and we've seen that constantly throughout 2024 thus far. Are they small changes? What types of changes makes a program take that next step?
I don't think I want to talk about that.
but it is impressive what you guys have done.
Yeah, for sure, right? I think we had even though we won the Manufacturers Championship last year, I don't think we felt too good about it. You know, we got beat to pole at Indy, didn't feel too good about that. So even though we won Indy, I think there was a lot of room for improvement, and I think everyone got to work really hard in the off season. So a lot of time spent at Pontiac on the dyno there with all the GM folks trying to make the engine better. And I think, you know, the drivers are certainly happy with what we brought to the table. So we just got to keep producing for the rest of the year.
Brand is so dominant here in the city. How important is this event not only for Chevrolet but for the city of Detroit?
Huge, really, right? Like this is a big GM event. Obviously, like you said, backdrop here of the Ren Center, right? A lot of presence. You can look around and you can see Chevy, GM logos everywhere. But it's big for the city too, right? They really get behind it. You know, a lot of people come out. You can look on top of all the parking structures, right? People are already here watching practice. Going to be packed this week, and so a huge event, really cool.
You guys have done an amazing job. We'll let you get back to it. Thank you for your time. Great to see you as always.
Okay, thank you.
That's Ray Gosselin, Vice President of Motorsports for Chevrolet.
Yeah, to that point, again, over 90 corporate sponsors have jumped on board with the Chevrolet Detroit Grand Prix presented by Lear. And Davey, a couple of things have become clear during this session. The entrance to the high side in turn number 1 to be able to cut off that turn at the apex is plenty bumpy. And the same thing is true when you're setting up for the entrance to turn number 3 in that little hairpin, which takes you through, you know, back to turn number 4, kind of 3A and 3B, if you will, back to turn number 4. It's upsetting the balance of the race car, and some of that grip's going away.
Yeah, and we see that, especially had an onboard or a shot of wheel power, getting loose going in the corner and gets it under control, hammered down, hits a few of those bumps, and still has issues, as we see right now as well. It looks like Kyle Kirkwood has some looks like engine issues. They're looking in the engine compartment. They have somebody from Honda there in that Andretti car. So that's probably the reason there's only 7 laps turned by him, and he's in that P27 spot.
They had their share of issues in the month of May as well. We saw smoke pouring out of the rear of more than a few Hondas during the month.
Yeah, we sure did. Really surprised early on, too, and we thought, oh, what's it going to look like later? And it seemed like they all happened really early, then later on they all, survived it. But Yeah, there's what I think 4 different issues.
Catherine Legs digging it early as a result of that.
Yeah, for sure. And so did I think another one is Armstrong. Had a good run there in Los Angeles.
Well, Scott Dixon, Will Power, and Elio Castroneves might not have been overjoyed with the move downtown from Belle Isle. They each won 3 times there. The only winner that we've had here on this circuit is Alex Palou, who won the race a year ago.
He finds himself 4th quickest right now.
Yeah, but Detroit Grand Prix winners include Pato Award, Marcus Ericsson, Joseph Newgarden, and Graham Rahal in terms of those entered this weekend. But again, vastly different course. I will say the one thing that is similar about this course, I don't think anything's as bumpy as Belle Isle was, but this one still is plenty bumpy.
Yeah, well, they actually fixed Belle Isle in most places, got it pretty darn good over the years, but this one here, I think it wins out on the bumps. But one that you mentioned, Rahal, that's one that other one, matter of fact, dominated a couple of years there.
Yep.
Finds himself
he swept the weekend back in 2017.
That's right. Just won both races. That's right. And here, way better than last week. Last car into the Indy 500 started 33rd. Right now, P12.
Momentum race too, Davey, because the driver that's won here has gone on to win the championship 8 different times.
That's a good sign right there. So, you need to look at that as well, because obviously it's a pivotal point. I mean, we still have a lot of racing to go. Some new tracks coming back to Milwaukee, Nashville Oval. Going to be exciting to get on those tracks. So the schedule's changed up a little bit, but it's always good to be in front when you're in the points championship.
You guys had a pretty spirited Indy Next practice a little bit early on today, and happy to see we caught up with him during the media availability earlier today. Nolan Siegel has put the disappointment of what happened for qualifying with the 500 behind him, and he's ready to chase a championship now.
Absolutely is. Finds himself fast this morning and told us about the emotions that he had trying to qualify for his first Indy 500 and being the one car that did not make it. But, as he even said there, I wasn't going to be the one. I'm going to hold it wide open regardless. Got into the fence, didn't make it. But he has so much support, not just from all the fans and the people knowing how important that race was to him and his sponsors, his people, but Tony Kanaan that came down and helped him. So many insiders that know that he's a really good race driver. He's a young kid, has plenty of opportunity, but always stings, not making that first.
Jacob Abel's turning into a nice story, that whole race team, that whole operation.
Yeah, that's right. No, I think it's a situation where he's going to be around a long time, and he's changed the way things are done, and he has a lot of talent, and just, I think if you put him in a lot of different cars, he would have made that race no problem.
Yeah, Louis Foster and others going to be fun to watch that championship chase of that series. Going to be fun to watch this one as well, Davey, with 30 seconds remaining in this session. A relatively clean session, except for a few typical trips into the runoff areas. Colton Herta appears to be fastest and have plenty of pace. Power, McLaughlin, Lundgaard, then Palou and Ericsson, Pato Award, Marcus Armstrong, Felix Rosenquist, and Augustin Canapino. 11th quickest Scott Dixon, 12th Rahal, 13th Rossi, 14th Newgarden, 15th VK, 16th Robb, 17th Grosjean, 18th Lundquist, 19th Elio Castroneves. Teo Porcher is 20th quick, then Rasmussen is 21st. Santino Ferrucci, 22nd. Birthday weekend for Santino Ferrucci. Wish him a happy birthday. Kevin Simpson, 23rd. Fittipaldi, 24th. Harvey, 26th. And Vautier, Harvey, 25th. Vautier, 26th. Kyle Kirkwood, as we mentioned, some issues. He's turned only 10 laps in the session. Do want to mention, because of unapproved engine changes, a couple of grid penalties. 6 spots, Davey, for Graham Rahal and Kevin Simpson.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, that's going to be a big part, especially on a track where track position is very key, more so key here than anywhere we've been all season long. I mean, it's so hard to pass here. That's definitely a disadvantage for sure. But hopefully they can fight through that. But same for everybody. When you have to do that, it's kind of a bummer that the engine changes kind of reflect back on the driver and the team.
So, as we mentioned, pretty busy day tomorrow. We hope you will join us for it. And we get started bright and early at 8 o'clock Eastern time. It's Indy Next practice session number 2. It'll be a 50-minute session. And then a bit of a break. And then we'll have IndyCar practice session number 2 at 9:10 Eastern time. That'll be a 1-hour session. Then from 11:20 to 11:55, Indy Next qualifying. And then at 12:15 Eastern time, we'll have IndyCar qualifying, the knockout qualifying format, and the Firestone Fast 6. And then on Sunday, a final warm-up session is scheduled for 9:30 Eastern time. And the Indy Next race will be at 10:15, and then flag-to-flag coverage of the Chevrolet Detroit Grand Prix presented by Lear comes your way at 12 noon. And
Thank you very much to the INDYCAR radio team. Fantastic coverage as always. Colton Herta then, I did say in the chat, watch out for Andretti in this session. What a time. A 102.0219. Power, 0.4 off the pace after scraping the wall. Join us then tomorrow for practice 2, which gets underway at 2:10 British Summer Time. Qualifying is from 5:15 British Summer Time. Thanks for your company. Good night to you all. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.